Hello, greetings again. From I hope you have a good day. I'm going to make another series, but this time with two narrators have a good, excellent point. The one um, is going to talk about the history of black banks, but also I'm going to finish up on the black towns, and then I'm going to go. I guess just I just saw this and then put it together today. They did an excellent. These two content creators did an excellent historical content on Black progress, because that's something. And but how did it start? Why there was such a struggle for Black people? And this is dedicated to Black people only from America. And it's hope this inspire other people that it's like even with so much with the odds up against the Black American, and they tried to discredit, debunked. They tried to seem like we come from a lazy, criminalized people. That's not so, and this is the reason why I made this video, because anybody that come to this country or don't know anything about all American citizens, because they take a certain version of American citizen, but they don't tell you about the citizens. One of them who was the backbreaker, who was in slavery, put in chains, subjugated to the most horrible conditions known to mankind. There's only one race of people that went through the most horrendous thing of torture that you can even imagine. That probably go way back until the, to the times of cannibalism. And this is what happened to Black Americans. This is why they suffer the trauma. This is the reason why the things they are today, and the traumatic things. But you got to understand the history to understand the present. So I'm going to present this one content creator, but it's going to start with the first. It's going to start. This is going to be about the banks. Then I'll come back to the housing. Okay, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'm going to try not to be so long-winded with this video because I have quite a few cities to go over. But man, the deeper I go into this history and the further back I go, the more questions are raised. So, here we go. Right? No matter what year you were born, or even what generation you come from, if you were born in America, American history kind of goes something like this. Sometime in the 1600s, England was looking for an opportunity to improve its dominance and enforce its presence in the world. So they sought expansion in North America, granting a series of charters to scope out and claim the land of North America in the name of England. So in between three different monarchs, James the First, James the Sixth, and George the Third, those guys issued out a lot of charters to come over to North America and create the America we know today. Slavery is inserted mildly and briefly here, only to be spoken of no more until after the late 1700s. Right? So the story goes, according to the narrative, after being in this new land for a little while, England passed a bunch of taxes on the land and the people, which caused them to become really upset, and this is what caused the American Revolution, right? This American Revolution would ultimately separate this new land founded by England from England as its own separate entity and country. And thus America was created from this narrative. And now I'm going to insert slavery around here, again, according to the narrative, and they had a terrible, terrible life. It was terrible, completely horrible, horrendous. This until the Emancipation Proclamation, and now they're freed by Abraham Lincoln. Oh yeah, and now Martin Luther King and civil rights. Oh, but heavy on the Martin Luther King and heavy on the civil rights. Only here is where we're going to go into detail for African American history. Now, with that pipeline of funnel-styled history having many other events completely overshadow various major historical events concerning African Americans, creates the result of a generous amount of Americans, no matter the color, believing that since people of color came to America on slave ships, according to the narrative, that they only lived enslaved on this land in different plantations all the way until the Emancipation Proclamation. And only after that were they able to go out and attempt to build cities for themselves. In reality, there were many black established and thriving cities as far back as the 16th century. So, where were blacks living in the early 1800s? So, the first city I'm going to go into is Marshalltown, New Jersey. The date of establishment is heavily speculated on. The dates go between 1803, 1834, and 1836. But Marshalltown, New Jersey is along the Delaware River and is said to be named after Thomas Marshall, who purchased the land in 1834, according to the narrative. So, there are a lot of houses, schools, churches, stores, gardens, cemeteries. Which of course, okay, we can say the city was thriving. Thomas Marshall, the guy who, of course, founded the city, he died in 1856, and that's when creditors seized the land and the assets. So, what's left of the town today is nothing more than a house, a church, schoolhouse, and 2 cemeteries. So, that's that for Marshalltown. Next on the list we have Freetown, New York, which is also known now as East Hampton, New York. The date of establishment for this one is also heavily speculated on. So it's believed to have been an establishment before 1790. According to the 1790 Census Bureau, it's reportedly recorded that East Hampton's residence was 1,299 whites, 99 slaves, and 99 people classified as all other free people. Interesting wording there for all other free people. According to the narrative, it's believed that after slavery was abolished in 1827, a lot of the slaves at the time escaped and relocated to East Hampton. From here, the city is known to have flourished all the way until about the 1870s, when this guy named Arthur Benson pretty much started buying a bunch of land around the area and relocating a lot of the people from the area to East Hampton. And it's heavily speculated that he pretty much did the exact same thing to East Hampton, pretty much enticed the people to move away. And, well, what's left of Freetown today? Virtually nothing. I mean, maybe a cemetery and, a church called St. Matthew's Chapel, which has an interesting convoluted history as well, because it was moved in 1976 to what they call East Hampton Point. So there's Freetown, or East Hampton, New York, between 1790 and the early 1800s. Okay, so now we're looking at Free Hill, Tennessee. And Free Hill, Tennessee was established in 1816, pretty much pre-Civil War era. According to the narrative, the freed slaves of a woman named Virginia Hill. She freed her slaves, and I'm assuming out of the kindness of her heart, gave them her property. This was a lot of land. And according to the narrative, the city consisted of about 300 residents, 2 grocery stores, 3 clubs, 2 eating establishments, churches, school, all of this. But it said pretty much the town started to decline during the 1960s due to a substantial number of residents deserting the farmland and moving to much more prosperous areas for economic gain. That is a recurring theme. Okay, not to dwell so heavy. Next, we're going to go to Lakeview, Illinois, established in 1818. Alright, so with Lakeview, it's believed that a group of African Americans migrated from North Carolina after the War of 1812 and established a city in 1818, otherwise known as the Pond Settlement. Now, this city, of course, thrived with many homes and schools, grocery stores, etc., and it did pretty well all the way up until 1872, where a lot of the holdings were sold off and a lot of whites were buying the land around Lakeview. So it's also heavily speculated that this town of Lakeview is one of the many towns that, of course, was people were either forcibly removed or lured away. This is pretty much what Lakeview looks like today. Yeah, the results of what happened to this town, again, heavy speculation going on here. Yeah, that's Lakeview. Right, next up we have Davis Bend, Mississippi, in 1820. So according to the narrative, Joseph Davis, which was Jefferson Davis's brother, he sold the plantation, according to the narrative, in 1866 to a black man named Benjamin Montgomery on a $300,000 loan. Over time, it's believed that catastrophic floods ruined the crops and cut a channel across the peninsula, turning Davis Bend into an island. So in 1876,
This is what Black Americans did.
Montgomery failed to make a
They
payment.
tell me we lazy, right? That we didn't build anything, right? Look what we did.
Took the land back. However, something else that's interesting with Davis Bend, Mississippi, is it's also believed that his son ran the land until 1979, and we're talking about Benjamin Montgomery's son, and they're saying pretty much that there was a downward turn on the community, and most of the community members and the tenants, they left to participate in the Kansas Exodus, something else I'll be covering as well. And that's Davis Bend, Mississippi. Heavy speculation on the establishment between 1860 and 1866. Yeah, but it existed, and this is what it is now. Next up is Seneca Village, New York. Right, this was established in 1825. We all know Seneca Village as Central Park. But from 1825 to 1832, massive amounts of black people bought lots of land in that area. So by the 1950s, Seneca Village was thriving. Around the exact same time, the city of New York began to plan a large municipal park. So in 1853, they erected a law known as eminent domain that allowed them to take the land from the owners for public use. So when they did that, literally more than 1,600 people, like all their families, were displaced. And by 1857, they officially had everyone removed, and everyone that did not, of course, participate in any of the monies that was offered, they were forcibly removed. So here is Seneca Village, aka Central Park today. Man, does this thing get dark. stress that I will have another video for all of these cities, specifically dedicated to each city, because the histories, the deeper and further back you really do go with this, it does take a lot of turns that you definitely wouldn't expect. But carrying on, right over in the same place, New York, in 1828, we have Sandy Ground. Sandy Ground, New York. Alright? This one, John Jackson, said to be the first African American to purchase land of this particular time. However, Sandy Ground is said to first appear on record dating all the way back to 1799. However, of course, the city did well and it thrived all the way up until the 1930s, where there was a great fire that destroyed much of the property and the community. But it still kept going. But then there was another fire, a great fire, in 1963. Fortunately, Sandy Ground still exists. Next up is Lyle Station, Indiana, 1830. According to the narrative, this community dates from 1849. However, the first settlers arrived to this community in the 1830s, and it was named Lyle Station to honor Joshua Lyles, the African American who migrated with his family from Tennessee to Indiana. Interesting information about this city is it actually had a railroad depot, a post office, a lumber mill, lots of churches, and lots of houses. The usual. However, this city flourished all the way until the Great Flood of 1913. And this flood destroyed most of the town. And it said, according to the narrative, of course, that most of the residents left for economic reasons. So, here's Lyle Station. The other thing that I found out about Lyle Station that I kind of want to hit on just to throw out there is there was a lot of radiation experiments going on to the people from the government, and it's not really talked about much. So I'm definitely going to be covering that too. Just felt like it was necessary. But next up on the list is Robert Settlement, Indiana. It was established in 1830. The date of establishment, however, is heavily speculated. But according to the narrative, after the Nat Turner Rebellion, many of the people migrated from North Carolina to the city. And from the 1830s, they migrated all the way into the early 1900s. According to the narrative, though, in 1870, by that time, farming afforded fewer opportunities, and apparently fewer than 6 families remained in the city by the mid-1920s. To this day, the only remains are a chapel and its adjacent cemetery, maybe a few other significant structures. Another disagreed establishment date is Beach Settlement, Indiana, which is, again, they're saying in 1836. But by this time, it had a population of over 400 residents. And according to the narrative, by the 1920s, fewer than 6 families remained. This is what it looks like today. A whole lot of nothing. However, with the settlement, I just found it really hard to find out exactly what happened to this city. But again, that video will be coming soon. Next up, we have New Philadelphia, Illinois. That's founded in 1836 by Frank McWhorter. This town faced a lot of economic racism and discrimination. Railroads at this time in any community or city were said to, of course, promote expansion and growth
This is what they don't want to teach your kids in school.
Economically, New Philadelphia, however, seemed to continue
CRT.
to bypass the railroad system. In many adjacent cities and towns, they received railroads. New Philadelphia did not. It said that by 1865, because of the lack of railroad, the city began to decline. Now, New Philadelphia is interesting, even more so to me a little bit, because the end result is what happened to this city. When I get a little into it, the narrative states that it reverted to farmland. Interesting. The whole city that was flourishing for more than 30 years turned into farmland. Okay, anyway, and according to the narrative, it was by the 1920s, pure farmland. Okay, I'm gonna let New Philadelphia go, but what? Okay. Okay, wait, no I'm not, because I also found out that in 1940, nothing at the town remained above ground. What does that even mean? So, was the town ultimately buried? And another thing, it's sometimes known as Ghost Town. Alright, I'm done with New Philadelphia, Illinois. Alright. And that's when I'm going to end this video. Or no.
So, to my fellow immigrants from around the world in America, when they tell you black people are lazy, that's a lie. Black people didn't invent anything, build anything. That's a lie. This is what they're trying to keep out of the history of America, because look what happened. But it gets even gooder than this. Another history lesson. But that's what they tell you. And this is what they don't want their kids to know. What they did to black people in the 1700s, the 1800s, 20s. And they trying to deny reparations and deny all of that. So if they deny all of that, they won't be held accountable. But a lot of innocent blood. And then you hear experiments on black Americans. But hey, that's the part of American history they do not want you to know about.
12 hours of uninterrupted pain relief.
And I shout out to that content creator.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so what I had to do for this channel is create an email list. The reason why is because due to the nature of the content of this channel, I don't know when the content is going to just mysteriously disappear or this channel will be shut down. The email list is just for the followers or the subs so that you know where these things are just in case this mysteriously happens. So just go down to the link in the description of the video, click join email list, put your email address in there, and boom, you're good to go. That means that I can also send you other information that I cannot post here on YouTube, and you'll also know where the channel is and where the content is in the event that it does disappear. Okay, let's cook. Okay, people. So we're going to cover the biggest bank heist in American history, the biggest bank theft, bank robbery in American history. So we have to go back to the year of 1861, right? The Civil War is about over, and at this time, many of our people are experiencing something, kind of like freedom for the first time. Black Union soldiers who fought in the war, they're making money, they're being compensated in exchange for their military service. Also, many of the black skilled laborers, cooks, seamstress, carpenters, barbers, people like that, they have jobs and they are earning income for what they're doing. And at this time, you could imagine that things are looking optimistic for black people, okay? Now, you just imagine many years as a chattel slave, right? Being beaten, forced to work long hours, not being paid, kidnapped, raped, having your children taken from you, your genitals chopped off. I mean, anything that you can imagine that somebody can do to another human being, this was being done to our people in America, okay? Now, these people who are experiencing this new freedom, they actually witness all these things, okay? So now, just imagine how happy they are, like things are looking like freedom. You know, I don't think any of us could even understand how this must have felt for these people. Okay, so black people are earning money. Now, at the time, what happened was there are small banks being established across the South so that, black soldiers who were in the war, people who were, runaway slaves, or people who worked, for the Union and things like that, they can put money in these banks, right? They can make deposits in these banks, okay? And these banks are like all throughout this South. Now, when they're putting their money in these banks, their deposits are just getting lost, gone. There are no records, because there are no records of these deposits. Many of these free men or these free black people, they couldn't recover the money, right? Another situation, another problem was that many of the black troops who were killed in combat during the Civil War, if they didn't list a next of kin, the money that they put in these banks were just unclaimed. Nobody got it. Of course, we know who got it. Even when they had a next of kin listed or a relative, sometimes these people couldn't be located because during the Civil War, a lot of black people moved from this place to this place, and there were all kinds of, different residential patterns. Like, you couldn't catch up with these people. Okay, so at one time there was an abolitionist named Minister John Alvord, okay, Alvord, and also so this abolitionist minister named John Alvord, what he wanted to do was give black people a more secure place, that they could put their money. He wanted black people, recently freed slaves and other black people who are now working, earning money. He wanted to give them a place that they can put their money. It'll be safe and secure, something more established and organized. So the solution was, what they did was they launched the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company in the year of 1864. And what this was supposed to do was to eliminate any individual bank mismanagement and bring all of the black deposits under one central location and one institution. Sounds about good, organized. Now we got things, laid down or whatever. So what happened is Congress passed legislation and they incorporated this bank on March 3rd of 1865. President Lincoln immediately signed this bill into law. So, black people have a bank. Some of the rules of the bank. Deposits were only to be received by or on behalf of persons that were held in slavery in the United States or their descendants. Okay, that's our bank. Up to 7% interest was allowed for deposits, and any unclaimed accounts were to be pooled into a charitable fund that was used to educate the children of ex-slaves. Damn, that sounds great. I mean, unclaimed money goes to the children of ex-slaves so that they can get an education. Now, what people believe is that the short-term effects of black people having these banks or our own banking institutions was that it would raise incomes, it would increase literacy levels, and it allowed the formerly enslaved population to accumulate wealth through land and ownership. Okay, so that's all positive. Now, this new banking system also helped black farmers out to where they could build a cash cushion and they would have money, so they wouldn't have to so much worry about, waiting for the crop to earn money. They would already have money saved up, and that allowed them to, let their crop harvest, and they didn't have to, they weren't under a lot of pressure to where they didn't have money until the crop was finished. Okay, so things are great. A black bank, and they also had all black employees running them. Okay, so this black bank had all black employees running them. There were 37 banks across the country. They established one in Washington, D.C. Yeah, the main bank was established in Washington, D.C. It was a big deal. Okay. Off topic, I also found something interesting out. I found out that the location of this bank, I actually used to be by this bank like at one point in life, almost every day of the week. When I was, I worked in an agency, I used to work at the White House. At one point, this bank was right over there on Pennsylvania and Madison. I'm like, whoa, that's that bank? Yeah. Some of these old buildings, I didn't even know that. But yeah, it's there. Okay? So black people are making deposits in these banks. Everything's going well. You got 37 banks across the country. Black people are saving money. Not so fast. Problem. The problem was this bank had an all-white board of trustees. A group of white men who would control or make decisions on black people's money. We know by now, right? So in the year 1870, this group of white men, right, the board of trustees at this Freedman Bank, the black people's bank, what they did was they convinced Congress to change the bank's charter. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to be allowed to make riskier investments and give out loans. So they convinced Congress to do this. So boom, they can do this now. The black customers at the bank were not notified of this. Nothing was explained to them, nothing was told to them. Hey, we're going to do this now. I know before the bank was like this, but now we're allowed to. Nobody told them nothing. So what this all-white board started doing, right, is investing in risky projects and giving out loans to their white friends. So, in addition, some of the white men who were on the board of trustees at the black bank, right, the Freedmen's Bank, they were also on boards at other white banks. You see, they were also on boards at other white banks. So what did they start doing? They started making bad loans at the white bank and then transferring them to the Freedmen's Bank's books. Slippery, reptilian type stuff, right? This is what these white men on the board at this black bank started doing. They started making loans at the bad loans at the white bank and transferring them to the Freedmen's Bank books. Super corruption and theft. Okay? So by the year 1872, many of the loans at the bank were worthless. People started to find things out. Something wasn't looking right. People were panicking. Black people were starting to understand things. This bank is going down, yo. It's going down the drain. It's not looking good. So what did these white people do for damage control, right? What did these clever white men on this board do, you know, to put the black customers' minds at ease and try to show them, listen, everything is okay when they knew it wasn't? They went and got Frederick Douglass to become the president of the bank. They knew that Frederick Douglass was a well-respected man to his people, so they figured, hey, let's put him there. Okay? So they was running the okie doke on Frederick Douglass as well, because Frederick Douglass, he had no idea that this was already a sunken ship. He even invested tens of thousands of his own money into this bank because he believed in it. He figured, I'm the president of this thing now, I'm good. He didn't know, yo. He didn't know. So once Frederick Douglass finally did, and it didn't take long, once he did realize that this bank was a scam and it was in shambles, he resigned. He resigned, okay? He tried to convince Congress to come in and fix this thing. Can you get this thing situated? They didn't do anything. Frederick Douglass said, boom, I'm out of here. So at this time, people, over 60,000 black people have been depositing money into this bank. $3 million have been lost, which is equivalent to $72 million today. This is our money. This is our people's money, right? Frederick Douglass said the collapse of the Freedmen's Bank was equivalent to adding another 10 years of slavery to the Negro man. This is crazy. You see that? And again, Frederick Douglass tried to intervene. Over $3 million that was owed to over 60,000 people, black people, they didn't get anything. At the time, I must add that there was no FDIC, y'all. There was no insurance on his money. Black people lost everything. Could you imagine working hard, saving money towards the future? Things are looking up, and these white men steal all the money. Now, here's the kicker. As we know, white people do not like to accept accountability or responsibility, and when they do these things, they often create other rules and laws so that they can slip around and get pardons and things like that. so that they can do the most evil things and they're not held accountable for them. Nobody faced any legal repercussions for what happened when they know everybody who did it. These white people got the money, their families got the money. To this day, their families are still running around, and they done flipped this money 10, 20, 30, 40 times. And these are the white supremacists who tell our people to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that other dumb stuff. This is how they get their money, okay? So here you go. This is another situation where there was hope for our people. We did everything we were supposed to do. We were saving the money collectively. We could have did a lot of things with that money. And this right here crippled us. We're defeated after this. Defeated. And this was all done by white people who control what we do and control our money. And also, it was allowed by the government, okay? So this is not a group of, white bank robbers, with hoodies and masks on. This is the government, y'all, allowing this. And these white supremacists say, get over it. Yet they hand out money to everyone who is not worthy of getting it for free.
Sounds familiar?
To this day, this money has never been recovered, nor has it been paid back.
Sounds familiar?
In today's time, the average white family has 7 times the wealth of a black family, and most of their money came from stealing patents, creating businesses where our people did all the sweat equity and labor, insurance companies that insured slaves, or just all out stealing from the bank. It's no way that you can actually have any pride in the money you earn. You earn nothing but haram money, forbidden money, and you're going to pay for it. Stealing. And we have black people who sit around and try to look at these people as mentors and like, oh, well, look at what such and such did. You need to do, they're organized and look, man, shut up. That's some American history for you, y'all. This happened at a time where they caught our people off guard. It's kind of understood because things were looking up for black people. They're figuring we're not slaves anymore. These people may be okay. We helped them out in the Civil War. We're getting paid for what we do. We're putting money in the bank. Oh, things may be okay. Nope. The Board of Trustees were nothing but white men. They got caught lacking, y'all. They got caught lacking. But I'm going to tell you something that's even more mind-boggling and disturbing to me, and it's not the black people back then, because I can see how they got caught slipping. Even in this current time with these situations, many of our black people still just don't get it, yo. We would still go into a bank and see that we would see all black employees at a bank. We would see all black employees at a store or somewhere else. We would see all black employees at a school and say, wow, this is a black store. Wow, this is a black bank. This is a black school. Look, there are black people. It's like, a 7-year-old will understand this. We won't even go look. Okay, let me see. Let's get to the bottom. Let me see who. Let's go check at the paperwork on this. But who owns this joint right here? And we know that to be a fact. This mindset, which is like almost, I don't know what's wrong with a lot of our people, man. It's like, I don't know if they living off hope batteries, or I don't know what's wrong with people. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. It's very simple. Look at what just happened recently. Now, this is off topic with the Deion Sanders situation. You actually had black people up in arms, angry, yelling, yo, you left us, Deion, he's a sellout. We're supposed to do this. You left and went to a white school. You're supposed to stay with your people, this, and that. When the Board of Trustees at Jackson State, nothing but a bunch of white people, 1 or 2 black. I don't know what they are, but they have the ability to produce melanin. But all white people. All white people. And white people are always going to do everything in the best interest of white people. I know it's education, but it's the same thing as the bank. I don't know. It was weird because there were people who were actually supposed to have some knowledge and be smarter. And we're not talking about no youth. We're talking about people 50 and up that was still saying things like, Deion left us. He sold him out. How? It's a white school. Black people just happen to be allowed to go there and work there. It's a white school in the best interest of white people. That's it. I don't understand why some people just can't learn from history.
At Patio Covers Ohio, we build dreams. Let us create your
Wow.
ideal outdoor living space with a
Wow.
Just can't learn
Wow.
from history. Anyway, y'all, Freedmen's Bank, man, that's what they did to us, yo. And another thing, I don't know about these abolitionists back then either, yo. Tell me what you think in the comments. I don't know if they was good-hearted people, you know, or if they had relatives who were working from their community because they're all white. You know, they presented things to black people as if they were good, and they figured, you know, they trust us, we're going to get you to come in and backdoor. I don't know, man. We got to question everybody from the white community in these times. It's like, what was up with these abolitionists? I mean, if they was good-hearted people, like they were presenting, and it was just some other evil fraction of white supremacists who would come in and do that, okay. But I can't give these abolitionists that, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. What y'all think about these abolitionists? We know about these, you know, the knuckle-dragging beasts. You know, we know about them, the men who were on the board of these banks. But, you know, a lot of these things, they were started by these abolitionists with, you know, the mindset that, okay, this will help black people. If they were genuine in what they was doing, okay, you know, but what y'all think about that? I don't know. I don't know, you know? So, people, when you hear, you know, older, you know, black people, African American people, you know, who have been living in America, you know, for a long time, or, you know, people who know older black people who lived in America, and they say certain things that sound crazy to you. Oh, I don't trust banks. They say other things. Oh, no, I don't believe that. They'll do this. These white people do this, and that. You know, it's from experience, yo. Sometimes some of this stuff these people be saying sound crazy, but these people, they not lying. You know what I mean? They seen these things live and direct. These people not lying. They didn't have time to sit around and just be playing around and making things up. The stuff that we see in these movies and documentaries, that was their real life for real. You know what I mean? And that's just the only part that they want us to see in these documentaries and things like that. These people weren't sitting around lying when they say things. Oh, I don't trust. You have people, you know, sitting up, you know what I mean, with $1 million saved up in their house and all that other stuff because of things like this. You know what I'm saying? So there we go, people. The biggest bank heights in American history. When white people stole our money. Point blank, period. It's just that stupid. And nobody was held accountable for it. Easy.
Well, he said it. But now you see. Black people were never lazy. Black people were never. Now you see the mistrust. That's why some black people feel the way that they do. They've gone through this for generations after generations. And then some black people are traumatized. And some people are. And that's the reason why they didn't progress. And even right now, on the flip side of this video, I'm going to show you, well, possibly where the black money be. African American. Watch this. I think I hit the wrong one.
If you are about to write a dissertation and or have already started your dissertation and have pretty much decided that you...
Hold on. Wrong video.
The practice you are about to learn is almost never described.
Commercials, I tell you.
Hello and welcome back. In today's Black Excellence presentation, we will highlight the top 10 cities for black money. Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we celebrate black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you. Very strong upward mobility in the African American community, but which cities are the most attractive to our upper middle class and where we are achieving the most economically? The financial gurus at Forbes help us answer these questions. They have analyzed the statistical data for America's 53 largest metropolitan cities using 4 critical factors: home ownership rate, entrepreneurship, median household income, and African American population growth from 2000 to 2015. The resounding conclusion is this: the South is where it's at. The top 10 metro areas that attract black money are all in the South. African Americans are attracted to cities with high growth, job opportunities, affordable large homes, and a reasonable cost of living, which makes the South particularly appealing to our community. And to be clear, we made another video that focused only on predominantly African American neighborhoods and communities with a population less than 30,000. This video revolves around metro areas and large cities across America with a population of at least 200,000 that attract African American wealth. In this original Black XList video, we will be featuring the top 10 cities for rich African Americans. So without further ado, let's get started. 1. The DMV area: Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Maryland. Washington, D.C. is tied with Atlanta as the #1 spot. Affectionately known as Chocolate City, Washington, D.C.'s appeal is reinforced by its ample supply of well-paid federal jobs, an efficient metro system, a plethora of cultural spots, and a vibrant entertainment arena. This metro area has the highest median household income for African Americans in the nation, standing at $69,246. Even amid rising home prices, the black home ownership rate is still the 4th highest among largest metro areas. 1. Atlanta, Georgia. Tied with D.C. as the #1 city for black money is Atlanta. Atlanta, with its historically black universities and strong middle class, has long been described as the black capital of America. And with its thriving nightlife and entertainment scene, it's widely known as the cultural capital as well. Entrepreneurship is strong, with 20% of the black working population being self-employed, the highest of any U.S. city. Its southern charm, affordability, availability of jobs, and quality of life gives Atlanta a high desirability score with African Americans. 3. Austin, Texas. For decades, the city of Austin has served as a haven for musicians and artists, but in recent years, it has transformed into a tech hub. African Americans are attracted to Austin for its affordability, infrastructure, business-friendly environment, and the city's demand for a skilled workforce. Austin is known for its startups. There are almost 11 businesses for every 100 Austin residents. 4. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore often gets a bad rep, but it scores high as a U.S. metro that attracts black money. For starters, Baltimore is located in the richest state in the country, Maryland, but is among the most affordable places to buy a home in the state. It is also close to the D.C. metro area, where 1 million additional jobs are expected to be created over the next 25 years. Additionally, large anchor institutions such as Johns Hopkins University and Under Armour are making significant investments in infrastructure and housing developments. 5. Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is one of the fastest growing mid-sized cities in America, and with its affordable homes, it's no surprise that Raleigh is a standout for African Americans. It is a prospering city with leading research universities, health facilities, and many high-tech companies clustered in Research Triangle Park. Professional African Americans in IT and healthcare migrate to Raleigh, where 50% of its population hold at least a bachelor's degree. Additionally, Raleigh is no stranger to the annual list highlighting the best cities to raise a family. We welcome your comments, thoughts, and insights. Feel free to comment below.
6. Charlotte, North Carolina. Over the past 10 years, Charlotte's population has increased more than 3 times the U.S. growth rate. One of the largest banking hubs in the country, Charlotte's financial services is one of the many sectors leading employment growth in the Queen City. Charlotte is a vibrant city that is often considered the new Atlanta. African Americans are drawn to the city for its small business opportunities, high-paying jobs, and professional sports scene. 7. San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio has a deep background in African American history and culture. The attraction to San Antonio is largely based on its flourishing job market and the fact that its cost of living is less than the national average. It dominates in terms of offering big city amenities and world-renowned attractions coupled with a relaxing and inviting atmosphere. 8. Houston, Texas. Houston boasts a large black middle class and is nationally recognized as a top city for African American families. Houston's desirability for African Americans is bolstered by its established network of communities and social organizations. Houston is home to a thriving business economy revolving around energy, high-tech industries, medical research, healthcare, and professional services. 9. Miami, Florida.
Miami is a large international hub for business, art, luxury, and nightlife. Miami attracts African Americans who want to live, work, and play in a vibrant and innovative city that's evolving from a tourist destination to a top global city. It offers a significant cost of living advantage over other metros in the U.S. and is considered one of the best places for African American entrepreneurs, where over 12% of businesses are Black-owned. 10. Richmond, Virginia. Long referred to as the hub of Black capitalism, Richmond's tradition of Black-owned businesses continues today. Richmond is home to 8 Fortune 500 companies, with government, finance, and higher education being the key economic sectors. What's more, Richmond has an evolved transportation network serviced by 3 interstates, and its residents enjoy a park system that dates back to the mid-19th century. We appreciate the fact that you stayed.
Well, at least there's some positive end of it. But to my fellow African American men and women, knowing the history of America, some will remain here, and some probably need to go where they feel wanted, to feel human. Because my question would be, just like the days of the pharaohs when they let the Hebrews go, will America come back? If God put a spirit on America to pay reparations, will they turn back around like they did in videos and try to outslick Black Americans by using the blackface like a boule? That's the next question. That's why I said you might have to leave the country, because sometimes they'll try to use your own to take you down. I said they think ahead of time, because that's how the way you take a people, you destroy them from inside out. So what they do, they get your educated ones who sold out. That's the only thing about it. So this salute to the Black people. If God bless your ancestry to get this reparation, that'll be my suggestion. Because you see what happened in American history that they left out. And a lot of people around the world in America from generations to generations don't even know this, what I just showed you. And they want to keep that hush-hush. But see, what's coming is because all that bloodshed that this country have done to innocent people, and what they've done, they robbed our people, or one of the many people, they're going to have to pay in some form or fashion. It is coming.
If you live in an apartment or have a small kitchen, you'll love this drain rack for your
You might
sink.
heard of this man.
Its extendable
He's
design
called
fits
Dr.
into
Claude
most
Anderson.
sizes of sinks. The ventilated drain makes
He's
it
been sounding an
dry
alarm.
off fast. Use
What
it
to do.
store your cleaning.
He also gives you the history of what
I hope
happened.
you all are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to DrVoiceTV.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And as you all know, as Britannia's Big Heart knows, I am here with Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Dirty Little Secrets of the Black History Reader. And we were a couple minutes late on the start of the live stream, mainly because we wanted to, he and I are real friends, and I love this man immensely. He is a relative for me. So every time before we meet, I always like to spend a few minutes talking to Dr. Anderson to just figure out how he's doing and everything else, and then we go live. So I apologize for being a couple minutes late. But without further ado, I'd like to ask my friend Dr. Anderson, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, very well. I'm still feeling comfortable with the belief that someday I will be just like you.
Well, you don't want to be just like me. That'll be bad for your health. So Dr. Anderson, his website is Powernomics.com, by the way. And if you haven't taken a look at Powernomics.com, I highly recommend it. As the holidays come up, I encourage you to consider buying productive gifts for your family instead of just buying toys and things that they're not going to use 6 months from now. How about giving them some knowledge? How about giving them some Black wealth as a gift, something that's going to sustain them? So I encourage you to give productive gifts, like you saw at our wedding we gave away copies of Powernomics because I wanted you all to get something from the experience, not just a show. Well, feel free to go to Powernomics.com and buy some copies of the books for your family and give them away. They may not read them right away, but at least they'll know what you stand for and what you believe in. So Powernomics.com is the website. Now, Dr. Anderson, let me ask you this. We around in these spaces, a lot of folks have been really talking a lot about the Joe Biden administration and what's going on with the pandemic. And the pandemic, which is something I'm going to really have our experts also dig into at the All Black National Convention. It's really had a huge impact on the politics and the economics for Black folks. Right now, as of just yesterday, Joe Biden announced that anybody who works with the federal government, even as a contractor, cannot have a job anymore because unless if they refuse to get the shot. And we don't say that B word because they have censored that word. If you say that word, then they'll take the video down. So I'm not gonna say the B word, but you know what I mean when I say the shot. Now I haven't told anybody whether they should get the shot or not. I don't believe in that. But Black folks are kind of in a tough situation, almost like an economic state of emergency because millions of Black folks work for the federal government. Millions of Black folks work for contractors for the federal government, and they're not going to get that shot, which means that as corporations start excluding people who don't have the shot, it's going to exclude Black folks from these jobs that they come to depend on. And that made me think about you because you've always said anyway that we need to stop depending on jobs from other people anyway. That instead of just aiming for jobs, we need to build businesses and build industry. So I'd like to just start there and get your thoughts on the current political environment we're in and how this fits into a Powernomics philosophy.
Well, it fits perfectly. The thing is that unfortunately we're real late, and hopefully not too late, because I started stressing this way back in the 1960s in the Civil Rights Movement, that the worst thing you can do is keep depending on your enemy or the people who are totally indifferent to you and would like to see you being removed. I told them back in 1960, at that time, we were trying to push integration. I told them that, I said, look, by that time it was almost 98% of all the whites in America were totally opposed to freeing Blacks as slaves. Now, almost 100 years later, by the 1960s, in over a 100-year period, the amount of hatred that whites felt for Black folk and dependence and the need for Black to want to be around Black folk or have Black folk in a mix with them had decreased only 10% out of 100. It was down to 88%. That means that 88% of the white folk right now, they don't give a damn about Black folk. I told Blacks and told them that and told them, you keep depending on somebody that has no interest in you, period. And I told them that when in the Constitution, when the Constitution was ratified in 1789, 1 year later, first thing they did was pass an immigration and naturalization law, which says if we're going to be dependent on anybody, we'll bring in a management class and an ownership class into this country. That's why they started bringing in all these poor Europeans into this country. They came over here to be the owners of businesses and to be managers in those businesses. They didn't come over here to get jobs for Black folk. Nobody is coming to America to get jobs for Black folk. They're coming over here to compete with you. And I said, what you got to do as quickly as you can is go back and rebuild your own communities. Rebuild your own communities and build your own businesses. I said back in the 1950s, that's where you went wrong. When you start pushing social integration and trying to socially integrate Black communities, you destroyed Black communities. Whites outsmarted you. They took the Eisenhower Act of 1955 and used that to do social integration by coming up with a highway system. They used those highways to drive a highway through every Black community in America, and with the intent of destroying them. They didn't drive them through the residential. They drove them through the heart of the Black community. Make sure they took you out. And now you're dependent on them for food, clothes, everything you need. You got to go to a white business, either in an old Black neighborhood, or you got to go to the suburbs. And Black folk, you're totally dependent. I told them then. And see, and here we are now, almost exactly where we were at the end of the Civil War.
City
Black folk right now, about 68% of all the Black folk in America that got some job on the government payroll, particularly the federal level. That's what they're doing on the payroll. 68% sitting up on the government payroll, just like you out on a plantation and picking cotton, still waiting on the master to come out and bring a ham bone or corn cob for you to suck on to get your nourishment from it, because he ain't gonna feed you. He only allows $15 for a year to feed a black slave. And then and out of that 68% of black folk that are working in some level of government, federal, state, county government, or school teaching, you got about another 23% of the blacks in America are sitting up on the corporate payroll. We're working for white corporations. They haven't got any black businesses in the country. And so those are 68% working strictly in white businesses, white government, and now the other 23% is working someplace in white corporations, depending on a paycheck from them. You only got 2% of blacks in America working in their own communities, in their own business, for their own people. So they put themselves in a position of being wiped out and annihilated. And right now, that's on the schedule. And by the year 2040 or 2045, they plan on wiping black folks off the face of the earth. Because of all these other immigrants coming in here, as I told you, that 1890 integration law, nationalization law, they're planning on constantly inputting those people into this country. A continuous inflow to replace you. You're down to nothing now. You're outnumbered 10 to 1. And you got these sorry Sambos working for the government around them, talking about we got to have a right to vote. Voting ain't worth a damn. Voting had no power in vote. You outnumbered 10 to 1, which means every vote you cast, you got your opponents or people against you who hate you and despise you. And 88% of white folks don't give you any reparations, anything. They want you to disappear off the face of the earth. And so right now, you didn't follow the things. I said the other option was get you a national black party and organize that, come together and get away from both political parties. The Democrats don't care about you, and the Republicans don't care, so Biden don't give a damn about you, just like Obama didn't give a damn about you. And you're still sitting there waiting on them to do something for you. I don't see very much hope. So this is 2021. And in 20 years, when all these immigrants coming in here from Afghanistan and from Asia, they're going to get together just like the Hispanics did. They're going to get together and surpass you. That's why Hispanics surpass you in the year 2000, 20,000. Now where are you now? You're now an underclass. And these Asians and Arabs, they're going to get together and bind and make you not only third-class citizens, they're going to make you fourth-class citizens. You haven't got a snowball's chance in hell unless you go back and start building communities immediately. Get out of both of these parties and start building communities that can change the kind of industries to go into. What you should be doing, and hire your own people. Quit letting these civil rights organizations say, we're going to train you for a job. They don't need a job. They need money and wealth. It's too late. See, if you're going to get them a job, they had full-time employment doing slavery. What they need now is wealth, money. And the Biden administration ain't going to give you anything. They've snowballed you already and used you to get into the office and have us mention the word black out of their mouths in 9 months. And so when this is September, so when November comes, that'll be a year. They haven't done a single thing for black folk. They're not going to do it for you. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was listening, and I know everybody's listening. And in case you just came in, I'm talking with Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth. In case y'all don't know, we're actually reading Black Labor, White Wealth right now in the book club. We are on page 62, and we are going paragraph by paragraph every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And so if you want to join that book club, it is something that is free from the Black Business School. You can register at blackkeystogreatness.com. That's blackkeystogreatness.com. Also, Dr. Anderson's website, where you can get his books and everything else, is powernomics.com. There's the URL. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, share this video because we need to build black-owned media. We need to develop infrastructure. Infrastructure is what allows you to fight system against system. You can't have individuals fighting systems. You can't have one-man black leadership. You must have structured institutional leadership, which means developing systems. It means developing businesses. It means developing institutes. It means developing all kinds of organizations, schools, all sorts of things that you have that allow you to have that infrastructure and processes that will allow you to fight back. So this media platform is part of that. So I hope that you will share this video and help us grow this platform because it's really important.
I'm going to stop it right here. But, yeah, he's pretty much pretty much told it what it is. But that's Dr. Boyce Watkins and Dr. Claude Anderson is the man on the right. But yeah, for my black Americans, that's what it is. Boom, he breaks down it, and he goes into the history of it. What I showed you the videos, he's telling it from his mind is like a historical, telling you about the history of his country, the finance part of it, and he worked up in a Carter administration, so he knows top hand about when they was distributing the civil rights and things like that. He goes in more detail what they did and everything, and they try to tell the black people in Detroit what was going to happen. They didn't listen to him, and now they pretty much down to the minimum as far as businesses up there. And he's trying to tell them how to make an infrastructure to kind of come up for the African American to come up out of poverty. But again, you get I believe your bootleg Negroes up there that kind of kept them from behind from achieving. So they allowed the crime to happen. That's why the other people prosper up there surrounding Michigan. I mean, you can't get mad at that. But sometimes, and that's why I said, if God would put a spirit on this country to give African Americans that reparation, some of us gonna have to go, because some of our people are our own worst enemy. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Some can weather the storm here, but you see how many black towns and black areas that they have, and people, before people say, well, that's separation, but people already separate. There are different places in this country that is mostly Middle Eastern, and this is in the United States. I can take you to some areas in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, that's predominantly Middle Eastern and East Indian. They got their own communities. You have the East Africans have their own community. That's just in Columbus. That's the ones that I know about. There's more other people that have their own thing, and they put their money around their community and support their own. And I made previous videos about that and how they have most of the businesses and stuff in the poor dominated area where it's poor black and white. And they owned by Middle Eastern people, East Indian people, and some of these people, and they take that money and they go right back to their community. They do that all over the United States, wherever they set up. They come in with work a few, and they maintain work a job alongside of you. But the goal is to make business and flourish. So they don't have to rely on and that's how they uplift and they help, and things help to the government and some bootleg Negroes in the government to help them get them advancement and loans and things like that, and grants and loans that help them with assistance. Meanwhile, most African Americans are begging the founders in this country is trying to get up out of the hole, and they need support. These are descendants of the slaves that built everything. And where, I just showed you the history, what happened. And then that's why I said some of us gonna have to stay. And I'm telling you, I know, but this is the part. Some of us can stay here and weather the storm, but some of us gonna have to go with the wealth, who are wealthy or next to wealth, because look what America does. They sabotage. When everything you do is a history, then you got people that come over here have the nerve to tell that these black Americans are lazy. Ain't that a bitch? They don't even know the whole story behind it until I had to show it. That's just cover stories. But they same people, when they get up over you, some people get up over you, they slap you in the face. when it comes, some people that come to us, not all, but some that come in this country, and they get kind of an arrogant attitude. Now you see why some black people got a chip on their shoulder. Like, you know, someone got a chip on their shoulder. Imagine, you know what I'm saying, someone thinking that they coming over and don't even know how the history over time. Every time black Americans have built things, they will sabotage. I mean, every little town in America just about. But they got what the media paints you as lazy, shiftless, ignorant people. They lie to you. We're not shiftless, lazy people. It's just that they're trying to basically, what Dr. Claus said, wipe us off the earth. Zap you from everything and destroy you in 10 different ways. And the only reason why half the black Americans are living is because of the Most High God. Because that's what they did to the natives first coming to the land. That was the tension. We was the next group. Because they with experiments and everything else, medical experiments, biological weapons warfare. We're the only group of people that they have done this to, next to an animal, is black people. That's how deep it is. That's how deep the hatred against black people in this country is. That they even, and there's even proof about, even when they have their own hospital, they decimated. There were black people that built hospitals, and they decimated it. They owned the banks, they decimated it. And this is in America. So every time when black people try to do something, someone throws a curveball in it. Because it's almost like the logic they said, why can't they stay being slave? That's the reason why some of us have to go. Because you got that spirit that among that sector of people that think that black people are lazy, black people are slaves, black people are less intelligent. They practice supremacy on and they reflect it. And when you point this out, you're the one with the delusion, but you can pull up the data as a fact. And then, that was just something. No, they trying to destroy black people off the planet. Psychologically, run you into madness, then turn the gun on each other. It's a weapon of warfare. That's why some of us have to go. Some of us would have to leave, because some of us are already gone. Some of us are alright, but some of us are gone. You know I'm telling the truth. So if the good Lord bless you with something, maybe you might want to go back to Africa. I'm just saying, or anywhere else. I'm saying. And some of us may survive here, but by my videos, what I showed you, and I'm trying to be positive on it, where the black money is. But like the one brother said, look who's on the board. Look who's on the all HBCUs. Look who's on, and watch what banks you put your money to. Who's on the board on the banks? I wanted. Do the Chinese have that on their board? If there was a Hispanic, who's on their banks? If they have banks, why is it always got to be black people has somebody or overseer over them? Make you think, don't you? Middle Eastern people, I bet you they have their own bank. They ain't gonna have the American white person over them. They gonna have their own, and which rightfully so. Every group of people should have their own, because that's their own people. Just, same way, but it's like Dr. Claude said. So I hope this is kind of enlightening, but hey, I'm not preaching separation. It's just look what happened in the history. Until you understand why some black Americans feel the way they do. They've been through this since the 1600s, 1700s. That's why some black Americans feel the way they do. Every time they do, there's something like, why they run around with that? Because this is from generation after generation after generation, trying to come up out of, every time they try to uplift and move themselves, someone throw a monkey wrench in there. Even when you get the good credit, they throw a monkey wrench in there. Every time try to get the business, get appraisal for your house, they throw a monkey wrench in there. That's how deep hatred that America has for black people. That they do not want them to advance. And some black people were right. But it's due to them. But they don't want you to let you go. That's why some of you may have to leave the country. And the ones that don't want to leave, and they just want to say, no, I'm going to be I understand. Because you've been programmed. We all been programmed on this land. When we see the equality, you see it in the justice system. If a person, based on the pigment of his skin, do the same type of crime, one gets same type of crime. One gets death, one gets slapped 2 days in jail and get out. Same type of crime. If someone commit a crime, an offense, based on the pigment of his skin. When someone raises that up, well, see, every case is different. It may be, but the reality is there. The reality's there. The reality, it's like someone, somebody stand on the roof and pissing from the roof, peeing from the roof, and somebody said, "Well, that's not pee. That's water. That's coming from the fountain drain." But somebody standing 10 feet on the roof and peeing over the side of the doggone roof. But that's how some people in America like to be in denial. But now, and they want to hide this. But see, more they hide it, the revelation and what's going to happen in this country down the road, it's not going to be pretty. Because all the innocent bloodshed, innocent blood. Something to think about, ain't it? Well, all right, I didn't mean to go on a preachy tangent, but yeah, just Dr. Claude Anderson is right. So some of you black folks, man, I'm telling you, you listen to, get together. You know what to do. You know the history now. Hope you enjoy this video. Share it with somebody. Hey, this is historical information that kind of enlighten. But the positive part of it, this is what can happen. But be among people that you're visible with, not the ones that try to, individually, they invisible you out. Go among your people that invisible you in. Put you visibly in, not invisibly out. And when you go out into these predominantly other areas where you're less than 2%, because you're just invisible. You're just a spectator. You know what I'm saying? So watch what if you decide to move and start a career, you're a young black person, watch where you go. Watch where you go. You'll see it. It manifests itself in different ways. So that's why he said go to an area where it's black people who are working, got some things going for themselves. Because you go out to other areas, hey, let them have from New Hampshire to Maine to Idaho. Let them have it. Let them have it. You part of it. There's a reason. There's a reason why. And you've seen it. Even from past times. What is repeated in the past repeats itself in the present. Nothing's new under the sun. It's the same thing transforming. Remember that. So my name is James. Till next time, take it easy.